I'm so glad that I have a very loving relationship reading this manga, because if this was the old me, I would have died of how romantic this story is. You see, old me was very desperate for a relationship. And let's keep it short, the relationships were not working out. So now I was single and I saw cute couples passing by in high school. I wanted to drop kick them because I wasn't in one of those relationships. But fear no more, young me, we found someone very beautiful, and she is actually the person that recommended me a sign of affection. Let's unfold this manga and anime, and let's see if it could have changed my spitefulness for relationships back when I was young. If you're new here, I create banging anime videos from breakdowns, recommendations, news, and relating anime to real life. We do it all here. Let's get this video started. So this is your warning for spoilers for chapter 1 of the manga and episode 1 of the anime. You have been warned. We meet our main character Yuki on a train going to school. She is thinking about how the dress she got on sale was really cute and is interrupted by a foreigner. We see her get really flustered for some reason as a person is asking for directions, and we see why. Yuki is deaf. She is nervous because she can't communicate to the foreigner, but then we see a man walk up to them. This mysterious man ends up telling the foreigner what he's looking for, and the foreigner ends up thanking the mysterious man. Yuki realizes that she recognizes who this mysterious man is, and he actually goes to school with her. She tries thanking him in sign language, but he doesn't know sign language, sadly. He asks her if she can read lips, and she says a little bit. He ends up putting his hand on top of her head and leaves the train saying, "I'll see you around." Yuki thinks to herself how she has never felt this feeling before. Is this a feeling of love, admiration? What could it be? Yuki and her best friend Rin look him up to see if they can find him, and they do. They find out that his name is Itsuyomi. Itsu travels the world a lot, and we see that he knows 3 languages and is learning 2 more on top of that. Rin sees that Yuki really likes Itsu because of the way she's doing her facial expressions, and Rin freaks out because she's like, "Hey, I have a crush on somebody else," and he's actually cousins with Itsu. And Rin explains that they both work at the same bar, so they plan to go to the bar later and see if they can find the prey. They arrive at the bar, and Yuki's already blushing as soon as she sees my mans, and shit, can't blame her. They sit, greet one another, and Yuki can sense they're speaking about her right away. But as she is getting self-conscious about herself, Itsu interrupts her by putting his hand on her forehead again. They talk to this whiteboard that Yuki writes on, and they get to know each other a little bit. We see more customers arrive, and Itsu is greeted by getting the kiss on the cheek, and Yuki gets a little bit concerned. They eat and leave with nothing special really happening, but as they walk out, Itsu follows them and asks if he can walk both of them home. Rin, being the cheeky friend, says, "Yeah, you can walk Yuki home, I'll be fine." So Yuki and Itsu are alone. Itsumi and her walk, but suddenly Itsu just grabs her, and of course she gets flustered again, but he grabs her because there was a motorbike that really got close to them, so he moved her away from it. Then as they're walking, he ends up grabbing her hand because the snowstorm is getting very strong, and again she starts freaking out respectively and starts thinking about how much she enjoys holding his hand. Then Yuki yanks him and does a very big brain move and asks him for his number, and he says, "How do you say sure in sign language?" He gives his number to her. They part ways but text each other immediately. Yuki asks him how big the world is, and Itsu says gigantic. He asks her, "Let me into Yuki's world?" and she says yes. She gets really excited and overreacts with this reaction, but it's okay because he responds with a big smile. She says she never wants these new feelings she is experiencing to ever stop. I think the introduction of the story is really good. We get 2 completely opposite individuals meeting each other and both being completely interested in one another. Yuki's a hometown girl that has never explored anything in the world and meets a guy who has seen it all, but this guy gets really interested in her. I assume this because he walks her home and gives her his number, which is a lot to me because again, this man has seen it all. We see more of this later on. He has seen a lot of the world, but is totally interested in her because he has never met someone like her. Not just because of her deafness, but because there's more to her. He explains this later in the chapters. We see Yuki has never felt this flustering feeling before with someone. She is completely entranced with him, and it's pretty cute seeing these 2 interact with one another. Old me would be in disbelief saying that. One of the things I really enjoyed about this manga is we see Yuki's thoughts as she is with Itsu. We see her dive into her thoughts about Itsu and how she feels about him. It's really cute and funny because most of the time her facial expressions show what she is thinking, and Itsuyumi totally notices and continues to fluster her more. The way Yuki describes her feelings for Itsu sounds really complicated, but at the same time very simple. It's a weird combination. She finds everyday things that they experience together and will start using these little things like snow to describe her feelings. One of the things I was hoping reading this manga was eventually seeing Itsu's thoughts, because he is a complete mystery sometimes and we are left exactly like Yuki, confused but in love. But guess what? The story ends up showing Itsu actually talking out loud next to her sometimes about how he feels, even though she can't hear him. I think it's because in a way, he was a little scared to open up, but eventually does. He ends up opening up to his cousin about it. I'm gonna call him K, because I don't know how to pronounce that. And when he does, you feel starstruck on how beautiful Itsu talks about Yuki. It's a really interesting dynamic between Yuki and Itsu because Yuki has never experienced anything but her hometown. But Itsu knows like 5 languages from all his travels. And when he started speaking Spanish for one of the chapters, I was like, are you fucking serious? You know more Spanish than me? Anyways, it's really beautiful how Itsu likes to introduce things that he has experienced to Yuki because he wants her to slowly become part of his world too. And Yuki actually genuinely cares about the stuff he explains because she is so deeply invested in him. It's funny how they both could be doing the littlest things and just be memorized by one another. It shows how being in love can be like for someone. I haven't been one to watch romance media or read it, but this was actually a really good read and a good change of pace from all the action type of media I've been watching recently. This is one of those manga or anime where you can just sit back and relax and watch a cute story unfold. I was dead tired today because I was doing a lot of homework for class and had a really good workout, but damn, was I dead at the end of the day. So I just wanted to settle down and rest for the rest of the day, so I picked up where I left off and read some Sound of Affection, and I had a really good time reading the story and characters. As I made this script, I was halfway through the manga, but I just caught up and it's really good. One of the main things I really enjoy is that there is no fan service in this shit, because if there was, it would completely ruin it. This story does not need some sexual content for the viewer to continue watching. It's a really great read because we experience this love story unfold between 2 caring and kind individuals. We see how they go out of their way to spend time together, and we see Itsu slowly learn sign language for Yuki. By the way, her parents and brother don't even know sign language. Even her best friend doesn't know sign language. And as soon as he meets her, he starts learning it. We see they deeply care for one another and want to continue growing as individuals so that they can be the best version of themselves for each other. The side characters we meet also have their own little stories of struggle with love, and it makes for a compelling story for everybody. We eventually see sides of them that are very vulnerable, and I think it's a great idea because most people nowadays are not vulnerable, and it's most likely because of the generation that we live in nowadays. If a guy opens up about his feelings, girls just end up blasting them for opening up about their feelings, and girls don't want to open up about their feelings to guys because guys don't even care at the end of the day, or most guys at least. So it's just completely impossible to be in a relationship in this generation. But reading this manga, one can dream that everyone will change their ideals that result into great relationships of honesty, trust, vulnerability, great communication, and genuine love for the other person, just like in The Sign of Affection. I think if I read this story long ago, like I said, I would have been pissed because the fact that there are characters that are honest, caring people, but I only ran into the complete opposite of that in my life, I would have been upset. I would say the idea of this story happening is 0%. This is just make-believe stuff. People don't actually care for each other in a romantic way, but as an adult and in a relationship, it's a great read. And even if you're not in a relationship, this is a really good story to read. It's a very peaceful one that has a little bit of drama thrown into it. We see characters grow and see it's hard to do sometimes, and I think it's an example of how relationships should be nowadays. Not all this toxic stuff that we see on the internet nowadays where guys are saying how many girls they have smashed, or girls flexing that they've cheated on their boyfriends, and all this bullshit. This story would be a really good grounding for this generation to just settle down and pipe back, man, because are super rare nowadays, and reading this made me really think of how fucked this generation is in terms of relationships. But yeah, man, overall my thoughts for this story are really good. One of the things I like about this manga is that the chapters feel pretty long, but at the same time they go really fast. There's a lot of stuff going on in them, but they can go by really quick. Like I ended up reading like 20 chapters in a couple days and finished it. On that note, I would say if I read this back then, I would have dropped it immediately because I wouldn't believe this shit could happen in real life. But it is a good read, and I think everyone should read it just to sit back and relax and just enjoy a simple love story unfold where the characters are actually good. There's no unnecessary drama, and it makes for a very interesting story when they throw in little things here and there that they don't completely explain, so it keeps you on the edge of the story as well. But yeah, if you made it this far into the video and you enjoyed, subscribe. I basically upload every single week with all types of anime content. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Have a great day and peace.